have a communication. So I think in terms of gap, the major gap I would point out is internet connectivity, and then the other gap is literacy. The other gap is literacy. So because if you look at it, let's say in countries that are very developed, they're actually utilizing ITC or the digital space is what is propelling their economy. So in the Gambia here, for us to grow, we actually need to utilize the digital space and make sure that the solutions that we roll out is sort of inclusive in a sense that certain group of people are not excluded. In a sense that you roll a solution, you should also consider that there are certain people who don't understand English. So you should also consider our maybe our mothers or grandparents, especially most of whom they are actually farmers, and they also need to use ICT or be connected to the digital space in order for them to and in order for them, for example, to be able to sell their produce or make the best use of internet. So coming down to your point again, I think I've added another one, which is literacy. So one is internet connectivity, because internet coverage in the Gambia is still very low, and I guess Amadou from Sky Telecom will buttress more on that. And the other one is literacy, because here there's a high level of literacy, and so if you roll out a solution that do not cater for people that do not understand English, they'll actually be excluded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. You made mention of one very, very important thing, that is with regard to literacy. The issue of internet is a major problem. we will come to that. But if I am to put this question to Jojo, who is a strategist, Jojo, looking at the Gambia, most instances we externalize problems. When I say we externalize problem, that is the issue of digital inclusion, you understand, marginalization. Like Joseph rightly mentioned, he made mention of connectivity problem. If you talk to CD Ben Suda from Insys Global, CD can list up to 10, 15, 20 challenges, to you, that has to do with policies and regulations that also serve as a barrier, you understand, to ensure these services reach the last people in the rural areas. You guys roll out the AfriJula initiative, which becomes one of the most successful projects that you guys roll out. Now, in terms of connectivity being a tool in terms of marginalization, what do you think needs to be done to address that?
Okay. So hi everyone. Like Amadou said, I'm Georgia and I'm the CEO of Insys Global and a co-founder of AfriJula. AfriJula, I like to think of as the QuickBooks for the African merchant. It is built to fit our context. We did a lot of research to know what the requirements are for the African merchant, and also have integrated with the microfinances to help them to gain access to finance. But when we first rolled out AfriJula, the platform, we realized that in our context, you can't just provide a platform. You actually need to build the ecosystem. That was not sufficient. So we had to do a lot of digital and financial literacy training. And currently, we've trained about 10,000 users on digital and financial literacy. And we also have about 11,000 subscribers on AfriJula. So I think as innovators, when we do now come up with solutions, we always need to look at our context, like I said. And connectivity is a huge issue. So currently what we're doing on AfriJula, this next phase, is actually trying to optimize the platform so that anyone with a low bandwidth will be able to use it. That is one. But also we have a lot of audio helplets in the local languages and a lot of support videos to allow those that are semi-literate to also be able to use it. So we did a lot of research and we looked at how those that are not literate, how do they navigate platforms? And then we did a color coding research and we made sure that we were consistent in how we developed the platform to allow them to use it. So I think connectivity is a huge issue. And I think it remains a huge issue even if you go to the developed countries in some areas. And we need to look at so there are several bottlenecks when it comes to how can we now overcome this gap that we see when it comes to digital and financial inclusion. But so the regulatory bottlenecks, this we need to look at. We don't have, there's a lack of frameworks, regulatory frameworks. And the central bank, you mentioned that you need to have the ISPs here, but also I think we should have had GAM switch here. We should have the central bank here. We are part of different working groups, and we had the the financial inclusion strategy that was developed and also launched by the UNCDF not just a year ago. So they need to be part of these conversations. So if we don't have, we have limited digital infrastructure, we don't have the right frameworks available. So if they're not part of these conversations, so we can talk as much as we want, but we cannot influence much. We cannot make much impact if we do not have those in place. And I think that's really important. But internet connectivity, it's a huge issue wherever you go, especially in Africa, currently in Gambia. I mean, you mentioned we went to South Africa together. I was actually trying to download something, and it took me a long while. I went to Senegal, it was still trying to download. As soon as I got into South Africa, in a few seconds, I was just like, what? We have to deal with all of these things. And I think the government really needs to help us a lot. Those that are coming up with the policies also need to help us a lot so that we can drive change. If we don't have good internet connectivity, we will get there eventually, but it's going to take us a long time to get there as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. You also emphasize the issue of connectivity. I know this will be something that will keep coming. The issue of connectivity, and thank God that I'll be speaking on behalf of the ISPs here. So before coming to that, I will put this question to Kumel. You are coming from a financial institution that is doing extremely well. Everybody is talking about table pay in the Gambia. And looking at our ecosystems at this point in time, what are some of the successful examples of digital innovations for financial inclusion as far as our country is concerned? Is there any specific thing that you can point finger to tell me that, yes, Mr. Ba, with all these things that we are talking about, this is something that is successful and it is working very, very well in this country without challenges? If there are, you've been in the ecosystem, we will want to know.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. Would it be biased if I said table pay? Yes. I mean, because I'd be speaking not only for table pay, but even for other payment solutions that exist in the market. If you ask somebody 2 years ago if we would be at the stage where we are right now in Gambia in terms of payment solutions or funds transfer or anything of the like, the answer or the probability of that getting to the extent that it is right now 2 years ago would have been different from where it is now. So I think in as much as we are experiencing challenges in the market, but the fact that we have been able to push through, for us in our case for about almost 2 years now, to push through, I think that's a testament of the things that are at least being put in place rightly. So like I said, it's not smooth. They've both expressed challenges here. The journey, we still have a ways to go, but I think the fact that companies such as ourselves and really other fintech companies coming into the market at this point, because I think it's right to say over the past 2 years is when we have really seen companies coming into this sector.
Yeah.
And a few of them over the last 6 months, if you will. But the fact that they are in the market reveals that there is something that exists on the ground, regardless of the challenges. So I think one success story really is just the amount of whether it's digital wallets or mobile money technology that is really coming into the market. It reveals, for one, that the Gambia is ready for such technology, such services. But also it shows that whatever groundwork that had to be done has been done. Because I would want to believe nobody would come into the market and put in such investment if they didn't do the groundwork prior to it. So in as much as challenges do exist, I feel like in the fintech space, the ground has been and is being prepared for greater things to come.
And how do you think government and the private sector can work?
Yeah.
Because the example, the issue of Wave has happened here, and it becomes a public, phenomenon that everybody is talking about. And so people also point back and look at you people. And we're like, our Gambian service providers are not being very innovative. If we look at the web platform, it's very simple. Even my grandma in the village, I can explain it to her in 1, 2, 3 minutes. You would understand. So, do you think there is that very, very cordial relationship between you, the service providers, and the government?
So there's two things I actually picked from what you said. One is being the relationship between us and the government, but also about how this technology is being adapted locally, especially for us that are Gambian born and Gambian grown. So when it comes to the relationship between, I'd say, the private sector, or us in the fintech space, and government, it is not at a place where I would have preferred it be. Because there are certain regulations that are required to operate as a fintech company in the Gambia. And usually for most institutions, for most countries, you would expect that the regulation or the framework is set, preparing for companies such as ours to come in. But in our case, in the Gambia, it seems to be the reverse. Whereas the regulations, when it comes to whether technology or digital technology, is being driven by the private sector, and we are coming in and asking, we require these regulations. This it will be ideal if this is done. We require this input. It's ideal if this is done. So I feel where the challenges are is where I'm going to speak because I obviously don't work in government, so I'm not sure what perspective they're coming in with. But I feel like we can't run away from this era that has started. This digital technological age that we're in, we cannot. It's going to get worse if we think that now is bad. It's going to get more intense than it is. So I feel the only way that we can move forward is really a conscious decision for government institutions and individuals. I'm going to speak again here for fintech, but institutions in the fintech space to sit and have discussions, because there are challenges that we experience. Some are coming from government, some are coming from the average man, but I feel that these challenges are there because the regulations that don't exist. So everybody is moving, trying to figure out what the next step is as you are moving. So that, for one, it pulls you back, because if you are supposed to run quicker than you are right now, because of these hurdles, you have to slow down and fix them as you go. So I feel the only way that the Gambia especially can advance in this era is if government institutions come together and work with private sector, but also even if private sector also works together with the university in the case of research. Because what you don't want is having new companies filling up the country with no basis for why they exist. And this is where the university can come in place when it comes to research, doing studies and all of that. And even when it comes to government institutions where we can have open data initiatives, because what this would do is just present that this is what exists, and companies like us can say, okay, these are the gaps that we have seen, and this is how we can come in and help. So even us as companies and as institutions, in as much as we are money making, but what we are doing is for the development of the country in essence. We are hiring locals, the solutions we are providing are locals. And this again takes me back to the second point that you mentioned, even though it wasn't a question, regarding adoption here in the Gambia, where, let's say Table Pay might be compared to another company. But the fact remains is, if we are going to provide a solution, we are providing a solution based on study we have done in the local community. We are trying to understand, as a Gambian, when it comes to these needs, or when it comes to digital technology or financial solutions, what can we prepare that will make your work busy? And for us, where Table Pay started and even where it is now is not the same, because as we are developing, as we are innovating, we're also getting input from people, the business, even government officials that we've engaged with, small businesses. We're getting feedback and then optimizing our solution to that. And I would, again, I'll be biased if I say this, but to me, using Table Pay is really very easy. And the example of this is really the fact that even before we pushed our solution to the general public, we spent a year where we introduced this solution to somebody that can just sell from their house. And they were easily used. Most of the agents that we have on our network are unlearned. So they didn't like graduate from high school, or we have some, of course, but majority of them are people that, and they are using the platform to make money from that. So if this set of our customers, you say, or our partners are able to comfortably use the solution, even though they are not as learned as, let's say, me or any other person here, then that would say that the solution is easy to use. But I think sometimes the misunderstanding would be because everybody is not using it, so that means it's not easy to use. So that can be the
In fact,
sometimes the confusion.
I like that phrase. I can tell you for sure. Since we came with this concept, we have been asking so many questions, to different peoples. And one very important thing you made mention here, that is, getting people to know the services that you are offering and the platform that the service is running on, how people use it. One thing that happens in this country that, if you made mention of, let's say, another, financial institution, and people will be like, no, 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 you cannot mention them, because now look at even this financial institution you are mentioning. They are all serving as wave agents. So wave has dominated the market so much so that even our own Gambian microfinances and our digital, service providers, have been consumed by wave, because like the local people, I can tell you, like I was in up countries just last week. People say, I don't come like in Mandinka, you people are in Combo, you are just disturbing yourself. Because even these big names you will mention, you will see they have a small tabular wave. They are serving as agents to wave. So I'll come back to you to that, because for me, I think that is one of the biggest challenges at this point in time that is hampering the growth for our Gambian-owned service providers, because people see them, do you understand, serving as agents for Wave, and they feel, okay, Wave use. So I'll come back to you on that. If I am to go to Therese, my sister, Therese, you guys are running a digital hub, and you are providing very good services to the community when you come in terms of digital literacy, just to name a few. Can you tell us, your Joko Lab has conducted series of research from Banjul to Koina, from Karton to Koina, to understand all these players that are involved in the ecosystem. Someone just today told me that the ecosystem is confused. Do you agree with that? Yes.
No, I don't.
Okay. This guy is listening.
I don't think it's confused per se. I think that there are a lot of gaps that need to be filled, and everybody is doing their part and going towards it. So we're not. So maybe we could say that we're not working together, like trying to achieve the same goal, but we're all individually trying to achieve different goals, trying to fill the different gaps that are there.
Because the reason why this guy said the system is confused is that we are all doing the same thing. So exactly, we are all doing the same thing. And this guy stands on his point. Yeah. He's a given. He stands on it, and he's like, okay, I'll join in the summit, and I'll see how the roundtable conversation, if somebody will convince me. This guy, he's saying, we are in the Gambia, we are all doing the same thing. You understand? Within our ecosystem, so much so that the ecosystem is congested now. So it's difficult for the order to grow because of we are all doing the same thing. So you are saying you don't agree with it. Joseph, you want to
I mean, with the confusion part.
If anybody wants to step in, among the panel speakers, anybody can step in. But this is something that people have been, honestly, I'm speaking, things that I hear from outside. This is my conversation. So people are saying they're all doing the same thing. That is why the ecosystem is confused. Some are growing slowly, and some are dying slowly. That's why you don't hear some of the service providers in participate at certain point. And people will be like, look at Wave, they just came within 6 months, they conquered the market.
Yeah, that's actually he's not completely wrong. I mean, I'm not gonna say the ecosystem is confused, but there are cases where there are a lot of things that are happening that we could collaborate on and work on together. I mean, an example is this here right now. Like there was another event which was very similar this morning, which we're just coming from. I mean, you guys could have collaborated and kind of fused those together because it's the same players in the ecosystem again in the same panels. So I do believe that there are some instances where we could collaborate and not work in silos. So especially if we're working towards the same goal. But then also, I mean, it's a, yeah,
So
there are two sides.
At some point, this is the system. Okay, let's have Dr.
Oh,
That's fine. Let's get this. Let's get the
Yeah, maybe it can be a bit more specific. When you say the ecosystem is confused, are you referring to the fintech or the entire the data space? You know,
I'm talking about the fintech.
The fintech itself. Yeah. I think so somehow. Yeah, I think that guy really have a point. A point here, because if you look at it, there's a lot of financial solutions that are actually many, that are actually really many across the country. And then you realize, let's say, if Kumbel comes and talks to me about Wave, and then tomorrow I step out, and then Amadou talks to me about another one, and if I go on, someone else to me, and then at the end of the day, I'd be sort of like confused. I think perhaps that's what the guy is talking about. So I think you look at it, the Gambian market is really very small, and there's a lot of people almost doing the same thing. Don't say there's a lot of financial solutions in the country. And for me, I think one of the reasons why Wave have sort of actually have a dominance, I think probably three, to my opinion. One I think is marketing, because if you go at almost any corner you go to, you see Wave agent, or you see their marketing team with their T-shirts almost every corner. So I think marketing, they sort of invest in a lot on marketing. Yeah, and then also the other point is the other point, other than marketing, I think also Gambians also we also have this problem that we tend to value more of something that's from outside than something that's local.
I agree.
And that's local. So we sort of like underrate locally developed product than things that are from outside. So I think that this is just a big misconception. There are a lot of advanced and a lot of creative stuff that are developed locally, and which are really way better than things that are actually coming from outside. Like Steve talked about Table Pay. I've used Table Pay, and I've used Wave, and I cannot say that Wave is easier to use than Table Pay. Yeah, so I don't think usability is really an issue.
Yeah, and interesting is somebody told me that people are saying Wave is easy to use, but to him, Table Pay is more easier to use than Wave. And when I looked at the interface, I was like, yeah, I think I agree with that. So, Doctor.
Yes. So yes, I don't think the ecosystem is confused. I think we're at a particular stage, and it's okay to have competition. But also I think that it's good to really understand the niche and the unique value proposition of each player, right? So I may be in some places where I can use Wave. I need some services where I will need Table, and then there might be some areas that I am in, or you may have a different term for also, is it Webpay? Webpay. Yeah. So I think each of the providers will have their niche. You would still have some innovate, or they call themselves innovators, or people in the ecosystem that will come and try to copy what they are doing. So what we did with Afrijula, we've integrated with Table, will go live soon. So rather than trying to come up with our own payment solution, we integrated with Table, and we're also going to give the clients the choice. We are integrating with Table, we integrate with Coringo, and also integrate with Wave. And they would look at the charge, the customers will look at the charges or the convenience and see what they want to go with. So I don't think there's any reason, there's anything wrong with having competition. I think, but also those other people that come on board or start coming up with their own solutions, but there's actually no user, I mean, that's an issue. So we need to also look at adoption rates, but also accessibility for some of these. I mean, if I cannot use Table at the petrol station, or I cannot use Wave at the petrol station or at the corner shop, then that's an issue for me. So I think the providers themselves need to look at how they can have better adoption by making sure that their services or their products are accessible to everybody. I think that's what we need to talk about.
I just have something I wanted to just add up to it. I'll have something they said that according to the Financial Alliance for Financial Inclusion, the Gambia launched its first financial inclusion strategy in 2022. The aim was to achieve 70% of the lowest and poorest people to be inclusive in this particular strategy. Why am I saying this is because one key word even in the sub-region of West Africa is the word interoperability. So I believe that with this vision or this strategy in place, and with what Madam is saying, Doctor is saying now, there is a stronger, or you can say there is the future is bright. No matter the level of confusion at this point, or no matter how much people deduce that there's confusion in the system, I believe that the fintech ecosystem in Gambia has a bright future with this idea of collaboration. And if you look at challenges of financial inclusion, one, technology is key. The kind of technology you are using. Two, consumer adoption is a key factor. We're looking at inclusion with respect to the idea of if somebody in, I think one of the region I've just research on is Brikama. How do you include that person in terms of digital literacy? These are issues that on the backdrop or behind the scene for each financial services or the idea of promoting digital rights or digital inclusion in Gambia should be taken into consideration, the level of digital literacy of that person or that particular sector, because it's inclusion. So if I'm supposed to do a product that only serves or give any commendation for people only in Gambia or any in Gambia, have I achieved my penetration at a rate? So these are things that I think, from what I'm hearing, the future is bright. And I believe that with more research, as some of the panels are saying, that there will be a total inclusion very soon.
So just to add on to what other speakers have mentioned, is there's one thing that is required of companies working in the fintech space, and that is the interoperability part. So it's not that everybody's doing their own thing. I've actually been in a meeting with all of these wallet providers and mobile money providers, and everybody is open to that. But like Doctor just mentioned, everybody has as well their unique value proposition. Everybody knows what their strength is. So we just work according to that. So for me, one thing I like to mention is we are not in direct competition with the other providers. We're not in direct. Have they prepared the market for the rest of us? Yes, that's great. Because if somebody, I've seen instances where somebody's asking, oh, what's Stable Pay? And somebody said, oh, it's similar to another service provider. Yes. So it makes it easy to explain in most cases. So we don't necessarily see it as a competition per se, because we are all really just developing the market. Like I said, we all came into the space, or it seemed we all came into the space at the same time. Yeah. So what we are doing right now as players is preparing the market. What we will achieve this year will go a long way in the next 5 years. That's for sure. So being able to work together is possible, and a few entities are open to that. But again, there's always the sand in the sugar, or the sand in the salt, that they would say, yeah, which is bound to happen. And another thing as well, something that other players might have and that some may not have is access to financing as well. If I come into your market with, I don't know, $500 million of some sort, you cannot expect me to act to be at the same pace as somebody that's coming into the market with $1,000, let's say. So we also have to look at it in that way. It's not always black and white in most cases.
And people sometimes people in the rural areas, people are frustrated. Sometimes most of the in the fintech ecosystems, you go to a particular provider to receive payment, and they will tell you cash is finished. And when you ask, yeah, there are people from the rural areas. You can see the audience; they are knocking their heads. Do you understand? Yes, you can see they're knocking their head. Yeah, yeah. So they'll tell you cash is finished. And the interesting part, I remember I went to you a service provider. I would have mentioned the name in Brikamaba, and we were hoping, do you understand, to access funds. We went there. When we mentioned, and the guy was like, no, brother. You understand? Meaning, if we give you those things, nothing will remain here. So we don't have those kind of amount. So I came outside. I found one Sarahule guy complaining bitterly that they sent him $20,000. And this guy is telling him that the money is not enough. And when I asked the service provider, she said, we are waiting for money. I said, where is money coming from? She said, Banjul. Imagine. So for me, I think, and Dr. made mention of one thing, and Peter, talking to people, I can tell you one of the greatest things that you people can achieve is awareness. People have a lot of misconceptions about fintech in this country, and I believe having engagements and talking to people like Afrijula, when they started, they went nationwide. Do you understand? Talk to people, engage people. You understand? If you go to the last village, you talk to people about Afrijula, they will be in a position to tell you a little bit about it. So I think that is something that is that we also need to improve on. Yes, Peter.
There is strong reason that most companies or fintech should also look at benchmarking these international platforms that are making more waves. My colleague up there said the wave is marketing this and this and that. Let's adopt local marketing for domesticate the content. So because my brother will be happy to use my service than something from outside that is being pushed to me based on the fact that it's perception based. But I mean that's something else. But look at the mission of Wave. The Wave mission is to see a cashless continent for us. Someone sitting in America is wishing that for us here. You can imagine that how is it possible? How these are things that are possible. But if you look at the case of Kenya, where M-Pesa help not just as a mobile a platform, but it helped to reduce poverty. And so the same thing in Gambia. So I feel like there's a need to strongly go back to the drawing board for most local fintech to look at the mission. What is your mission for this particular platform? If it's to just, allow one to get money, then you rethink about who or why you're accepting that product, and the product dimension will enable you to give the best service to the market. So these are just something that I'm saying that for effective financial or digital financial inclusion services, you need to look at your mission to whoever your consumers or your potential consumers are.
Can I just piggyback on that one? Because that's what I actually wanted to say, that we need to really look at what is the problem we're trying to solve.
Yes.
In Gambia, at least 20% of our population live, below the extreme poverty line, less than $2 a day.
Yes.
And we think that to get economic growth, we need to have financial inclusion. So that is why we're all having this conversation right now.
Yes.
And why can't we need to look at what are the factors that are preventing us from, is it about how many percent actually have the formal banking facilities, right? It's about 16% or something. And then you about 19%. And then, but if you actually combine them with those with informal, you only have about 69%, so around 70% currently do not have any, be it informal or formal. They're unbanked in Gambia. So how can we make sure that those are actually banked? And what are the bottlenecks? What's preventing that? So you have those on the supply, you have supply side factors, you have demand side factors, right? And I think this is when we're coming up with solutions. We now need to look at the problem we're trying to solve. What solution are we trying to give? But what are the bottlenecks? And then come up with solutions based on these bottlenecks. And then there was a recent World Bank report that for the Gambia, and they actually came up with recommendations. Although I think that these recommendations aren't comprehensive. I mean, it's only about 6 recommendations, but I mean, they know what these problems are. They have these recommendations. Why aren't they taking action in some of these? But including, let me just go through some of the recommendations that they spoke about. So they talked about GAM switch having additional functionalities, making it more inclusive, having around the clock services, adapting regulations such as the mobile money regulations, the Payment System Act. How can we harmonize regulations within the ecosystem, the ECOWAS region, right, to allow for interoperable payment solutions that can facilitate cross-border payments? They talked about digitizing government payments. That is very important, but also harnessing on the potential of we have a high mobile penetration rate. In some countries, I mean, in Gambia, we talk about digital ID. Why can't we use our mobiles? I mean, we can have the telcos strengthening their KYC procedures, but in some countries, let's say, for instance, I think it was in Tanzania, where before the bank registration was 10%, now it's 80% when they started using their mobiles to do it. So how can we really harness on this? But in Gambia, we need to look at other regulations. So if I give the example of Afrijula, we have a digital platform. Now someone in the market can generate the financial reports they need to gain access to financing. They apply online through the bank, they integrate with the bank, but now the banks will tell you that after they apply online, they have approved them or rejected them. So those that have approved, they're pending for the KYC, they have to come in. So it's like you need to digitally transform the whole ecosystem, the whole process. Just having that platform is not enough. We're working with them to change strategies. So these regulations, because they're doing that because of central bank regulation to protect themselves. So if that doesn't change, we can innovate as much as we want, but we're going to have these bottlenecks, and then it defeats the purpose. We also need to look at developing innovative products that actually fit our context and our people. They need to reduce those interest rates, one. But also when we talk about collateral, first, the credit bureau is almost non-existent. We cannot tell if someone is credit worthy or not. But how can we come up with algorithms with our systems, but also work with some of these banks, get them, like we work with the different kafus, but a lady can borrow from this microfinance and then borrow from another microfinance. They're not talking to each other. So if I had a database where I can show that this woman has borrowed this much, then it will show that they're credit worthy, but they're not talking to each other. So that is also a problem there. But also we talked about training them on financial and digital literacy and harnessing the potential of the high mobile penetration rate. But also there needs to be a mindset change, and sensitization is really important, like you mentioned. Yes. Some people just holding money is important to them. We're talking about digital ID, but some people just having a passport and waving it around, right? It's important to them. So they need to see the value, right? Everybody uses WhatsApp. Someone in the market will use WhatsApp because it's cheaper for them, and they don't need to now send, I think it's gone, right? So they don't need to now call. They're not charging them to call. They find the value now in using WhatsApp. Let them find the value in using our solutions. Is it more convenient for them? Does it make their life easier? Are they better off using our solutions? And I think if we look at the problem and then look at these, trying to get this objective and that goal, I think then we will make an impact.
Yes.
No, sorry, like I was actually
on.
Can I?
I was actually going to say that the most I think the one reason from our research and from like working in the fields that people are hesitant to join this is, one, the literacy. So having the skills and like the knowledge to use these things, and the other one, which is the most important, is the trust. So they don't trust what's going to happen with the information. They don't know what's going to happen with their data. So if I put my money on my phone, is it safe? So like I feel like, yeah, like is it safe? Like what's going to happen to it? Like if you get taken at any minute, if I have my ID online, exactly, there's fraud. Like who gets to access my ID? It's my, and then there's so many conspiracy theories as well out there that, so it doesn't help. So I think as fintechs and as people that are, I think you should try to actually build this trust first before I think it's important to build this trust first to get them to trust you and know that their data is safe, their money is safe, and that it's not going anywhere, and teach them how to use these platforms so that they're more comfortable to accept it.
Like the tribe I came from, we will always say, our grandfathers will always say, our fathers will always say, why would you put, money in
Exactly.
What about the food and
I mean, it's the same reason that they're not using the banks. It's the same reason why they're not saving their money in the bank. If they don't trust a bank to save their money in, why would they trust?
Let me just add this to this. I was surprised I entered a bank in Gambia and the banking was empty. So I stood there for some time. So I reflected back home. We have a system where even people go to the bank in Liberia and they tell them that the system is down. And people will be queuing. People are queuing like they're sitting waiting for time for the system to be back up in Liberia.
it happened here?
So it do happen. But you see, what I saw is what was surprising to me, that not just maybe a small bank. And then I will have to call the bank because it's not bad. It's like a big bank. Senate Bank. The bank was so empty. You will say maybe it's only one bank I went to, but it's like one apple for the whole apple. It's just a sample size. So basically, I'm saying this because it's about building trust in consumers to also see the banking system as a safe zone. And also the issue that is synonymous to Africa is not just in Gambia. There was this issue in Liberia recently about AI stuff. In as much as we need to have inclusion, there's the need for protection and fraud to be actually taken as key issues. So fintechs can adopt strategy to have that consumer education periodically, because building trust is about education. Digital literacy is with us forever. As long as people are being born, and there were people who were born before computers, there will be still issues of doubt about systems. So from what I see, we need more education, and it only lies on fintech to not just look at how to only penetrate the system, but to also educate the consumers or potential consumer continuously, because it helps to give them that level of reliance that yes, my money is on my mobile money or mobile phone, that when it get missing, I can go for different SIM card and it will be installed on it. But sometimes it's also a lot of skirmishes with how much was on it, you don't remember, and the rest. So these are all issues. So the AI issue in Liberia, there were people who were trying to double up their money, and they came to what? Zero. The money was taken away, and people cannot find where the bank is as of now. In Gambia, I was on this particular platform, and I heard the police are investigating the same thing. There was an AI group here. So why am I saying this? In as much as we want financial inclusion, the level of innovation is questionable, whether it's for good purpose or it's for bad purpose. This was for bad purpose. There's an AI that they tell you double your money. In Africa, there's no shortcut way for riches.
Thank you.
There's implication.
I can tell you that the example you just gave about the money doubling and all these things, your case is worse. Is that if that amount of money is taken in the Gambia, we are doomed. So I will go back to our remote speakers. I will send this question to Zara Fatima Rasool. I will have a question for the Vice President. Zara, if you can tell us, you have been in the Gambia for over 3 years, and you have engaged yourself into some financial activities as far as the Gambia is concerned. You saw how our fintech ecosystem has been. You have a lot of engagement with a lot of people in the ICT ecosystem and also the fintech ecosystem. Now, looking at our environment compared to the United Kingdom, what can you share with us, please?
Okay, that's a big question. That was a big question. Okay, I will try my best. So yeah, I had a lot of thoughts when I was hearing the discussion right now. Yeah, I have some experience and understanding of the financial landscape in the Gambia. I also used to work myself in a fintech company, World Remit, which I'm sure some of you would have heard of, here in the UK. So I've had certain perspectives there. What I did notice so far, our discussion has been really focused on, fintech companies and what they can do to really lead change, and to also help kind of create inclusion. What I would say is that I think that's just one factor, but I think if we're talking about an ecosystem, not everyone can do everything. Not each part can do all of the things. So we need to also each understand what our role is, what the definition of that role is, and then where it is that we can meet and match and support each other in that. And I think it's important to clarify that, because otherwise the fintech companies will also be responsible for all of the social action and things like that need to be done. And that might not be what their strength is or what their expertise is. So I think, one of the things that was really coming to me is about this idea of thinking about inclusion and innovation. So within technology, yes, as we've noted, some innovation is a bit crazy and is being used for fraudulent reasons. But I would also argue that maybe that's not really innovation. That's more like hacking. For me, innovation is actually thinking creatively and using the kind of tools that we have around us to really be open-minded about the problems. As someone who is a really important mentor to me from the past, used to always say to me, the problem is the solution. And that really has helped me think more innovatively and creatively about things. So we have technology is growing at a rapid rate, faster than a lot of places can keep up with, but especially within Africa. So I think really nurturing and encouraging creativity and innovative thinking to think of solutions. We've been talking a lot in this discussion about the banking system, but we're also seeing through technology, there's a lot of alternative systems forming. So some of that does pose risks when it comes to regulation and monitoring and things like that. But there's also solutions within those that can be used for a place, for example, like Gambia, which has many challenges when it comes to infrastructure and literacy and so on. So my main thing that I would say I would encourage all of us in this ecosystem to do is to be open-minded about how we can use technology and not rely too much on what's been before, because the way I see it is technology is moving at an unimaginably fast rate. And what's happening is when we're having to work through the more kind of formal structures, what can happen, they're important, but what can happen is it really slows down the progress. And the fact is that we don't have that time, because the more the technology progresses, the further people are being left behind. So we have to think creatively about these things. So like me, for those who don't know about Code Roots, so I started Code Roots 4 years ago within the Gambia. My background in the UK is all within youth work and community development, and I was doing that for over a decade. Then I became a software engineer, and then I sort of combined the two skills to start this project. And the key thing for me has always been about being grassroots and community driven with the approach. And I really emphasize that over and over, and people might just think they're random words that I'm using, but it's really important, because what I feel that mindset and that approach allows you to do is be dynamic and responsive to people and their needs. And I think in a place like Gambia, that's really important, because you will understand people more, you'll build relationships with them. And then what you might find is you might have a set idea of how things should be done. And although they might not have the knowledge, certain formalized knowledge that you might have. What they do have is other solutions and other ideas, which you may learn from and be able to innovate to create more formalized solutions, if that makes sense. So that's a key thing that I would also encourage. I've seen some of the over the last 3-4 years, what I've seen the biggest challenges is the points that other people have raised. Digital literacy is a big one. And I think it's not even necessarily like how to use technology or how to engage with it. I think it's to do with keeping yourself safe. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's why the Cybersecurity Alliance and others, I think the work is really important. It's about education. Even here in the UK, my friend the other day, these things are happening everywhere globally. But the thing in Africa is that often it's more vulnerable because the systems aren't protected enough. But also, I think that people design attacks against African systems because they know that it doesn't have the protection, so it's easier. But in saying that, even the other day, my friend just said she can't access her bank accounts at the moment because she got texted something, clicked a link, went through it, and whatever happened, someone tried to take money, she had to block it, and now she can't use any of her bank accounts. So even when you have access to all of the formal financial sort of things, you still will have these problems. So the Code Roots does a lot of work around kind of basic digital literacy, but others as well, in terms of educating people around staying safe. Infrastructure is a big one. We've been talking about ecosystem. And someone was talking about internet connectivity. I think internet connectivity is one thing, but if it's not internet connectivity, then if we're talking about access, you've got electricity and then the costs of that. When I found out how much it costs to use the internet in Gambia, I almost had a heart attack. It's crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe it. It's so expensive, and then electricity and energy and all of that. And what I found is when we're talking about the ecosystem, infrastructure, how these things connect, fine, you might end up getting the best internet in the whole of Gambia. It'll be a great connection. You'll be like, okay, cool, I'm set. I can now, run this IT business that I'm doing, or any kind of business actually. And then the electricity is cutting out every few hours. So, you will spend that money and then you'll be spending even more money. So I think when we're talking about infrastructure, we need to, I think that's even probably the biggest problem, is how it's basically making it impossible for especially small or medium-sized businesses to actually succeed. Because the infrastructure is just totally blocking it. So, I think that's all my key points. But I want to round up, which is that I still think, and this is my biggest experience with running a project in Gambia, because people say you've come to the UK, you run this project in the Gambia, and you're still doing it. Why? And for me, one thing I noticed is when I spoke to Gambian people sometimes, the way because of these challenges that I'm talking about, I think people got tired of trying to change things and trying to innovate. And people say, oh, here in Gambia, it's like this, or here in Gambia, it's like that. Luckily, I haven't been totally dragged down by that. So I've been able to think more positively about things. And what I have discovered is thinking positively and just keeping pushing. When you've got those clear goals in mind, things do change, and the things that you want to do happen. So yeah, so that's all the things I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zara. If I can come in here, he made mention of the issues of infrastructure. Judge made mention of infrastructure. Doctor also infrastructure. So everybody complain about infrastructure. Now, coming from the ISP industry or running an ISP, I can tell you how frustrating it is. The issues that ISPs are going through. Now, we have a system in the Gambia where only one entity is authorized to roll out a specific infrastructure, that is fiber optic, being it lead fiber or dark fiber. Gamtel is the only institution that is being authorized by the government of the Gambia, as per the law, to run fiber optic across the country. So the problem we have is that, I'll give you an example of my ISP. Every month I pay around $420,000 to Gamtel. Every month. $420,000 is what I pay to Gambia. And that amount, you imagine, is purely for fiber, lead fiber, dark fiber, and also co-location. Some areas, I may not have funds to erect a tower, so I have to come and co-locate, because Plura is saying that we have to reduce erecting towers everywhere, so they are encouraging co-location. Now, each co-location, Gamtel will charge me nothing less than $15,000. So imagine, as we speak right now, I have 14 co-locations. And out of all these 14, 8 are with Gamtel. So when you co-locate with them, they will charge you electricity, even if you have a meter that you want to bring from Nawek to have your own power supply, or put your own solar system, isolate your system from their power. They said it's against their policy. You have to use their own electricity in order for you to provide that service. Now, from there, bandwidth. Our ISP don't get bandwidth from Gamtel. Our bandwidth is coming out of this country, but we have to ride on Gamtel. Now, a typical example is we wanted to roll out in Pira, and Gamtel don't have a tower in Pira. Now, we went and wanted to erect our own tower. To get us fiber optic cable from the highway to the tower is still becoming a problem. So sometimes you, as a service provider, you can have the intention to provide service to maybe the remotest village, because I can tell you, as a service provider, I'll be very proud to take internet to my born village. And in fact, my born village, some of my brothers, when I'm speaking to them, they were like, you are a service provider, take a visa amud internet. Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have the financial muscle to do it. But if I start the process, it is going to take me maybe for the next 8-9 months before Gamtel will get me what I need. And the worst of all, sometimes if I start talking about Gamtel, I look at the other end. We have a check for Gamtel, $600,000, and we call them to come and collect this check. Do you know how long the check has been with us before they will collect it? 3 months. So that tells you the crumbling system that we have in place. Another factor is, like Zara rightly mentioned, internet speed in this country. Gambia, we are using the 5 gigahertz spectrum space and the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum space. As we speak, this country have the most messy spectrum in Africa. I can tell you that. You will see places like Bundung. When it is 6 o'clock, majority of the service providers' clients will struggle, because everybody is home at that point in time. The mess that we are talking about, that all the ISPs, we are all on 5 gigahertz, we are all transmitting on the same band, we are all transmitting on the same frequency. And when we are coming to the market, Pura told us they charge us licensing band. They charge us huge amount of money. We paid. We did not even negotiate. You know why? Because we said if we pay this licensing band, we will not have interference. We came, we paid, we started service. We told them, how are we going to use this band? No, we cannot launch this yet. So we were like, what about our money? No, it's a future deposit for you. Don't worry. Exactly. Do you understand? So you have problem now. We are talking about service us, the service providers, our systems, you understand, interfering to each other. People that do hotspot business make it worse now. Those who do these hotspot businesses in homes, it's very good. They are making internet affordable for the needy, like making it $10 here, $5 here for people to browse compared to the amount of credit that they buy. But the problem we have with these hotspot service providers is that now they are even using technologies that ISPs are using. You will see a hotspot business guy will mount a 5 gigahertz access point. So I'm giving you internet from my co-location through a 5 gigahertz band frequency. You mounted a 5 gigahertz device in your house and you are spreading the same frequency. Imagine, and this is them customer will call and say, my internet be never slow. And you'll be like, I tell people every day sometimes I go to bed like, you send me message 2 a.m. you see I'm online. Sometimes people are surprised. Mr. Ba, you are still not on bed. I spend the whole night filtering. I have to filter sectors, filter to ensure that my customers are happy and they will not complain. So these are some of the challenges. I always say, if we want internet to be cheap, if we want infrastructure to be cheap, we want internet to be affordable, we have to all start attacking Gamtel. Because they are the main player. And interestingly, Gamtel, we are telling Gamtel that you should be like Sonatel. Lease the fiber to us and move out of the market. But Gamtel will say no. Gamtel will give us fiber. If they hear us negotiating with National Youth Council, they will also So now you are poisoning that customer, essentially creating issues for us. So these are things that we need to discuss. And I'm impressed the Ministry of Digital Economy is listening very, very well to some of these concerns, and they have started taking up some of these things with Gamtel. Gamtel, let them only be doing the lease for us. Let them provide the fiber optic for us. Let them provide the infrastructure for us. Then every month, we will be paying these monies to them. Now, home internet, they are G fiber, they are ADSL, and all these things. Let them move completely out of the market. The smaller ISPs will grow. But if that doesn't happen, take it from me, we are going to have a bigger problem in the ecosystem. So to answer, speaking on behalf of the ISPs, I think, Doctor, I did justice by clarifying some of these things. And people need to also understand that erecting a tower in a particular location, you need to connect the laptop, bring it here and connect it before it will work. You know, erecting a tower, you need nothing less than $350,000, one tower. So you have internet and you are providing internet to the people. You want to make internet very, very affordable and accessible for people, but also you are running a business. You have staffs to pay. You have, engineers to pay, and it doesn't stop there. You have to pay your upstream bandwidth provider. Like us, we pay Sonatel every month. Do you understand? And it doesn't stop at Sonatel. We have to pay Afrinic, because Afrinic is providing you with the IP block that you use, the public IPs. So you have to pay those blocks. And recently they were like, you have to move to 6 gigahertz IPv6. If you don't move IPv6, we will shut down IPv4. We were like, in the Gambia, yes, we don't even exhaust IPv4 yet, rather than putting off IPv6. So these are some of the challenges, and I really agree with the panel speakers. If we want to fix problems, honestly, we need to ensure the infrastructure problem is fixed. If the infrastructure problem is fixed, my sister Kumber would not mind to go and operate in my village. Yes, because I have a lot of Sarahules and Serers in my village who love to use this kind of services, to at least is their daily activity. My tribe, they will be like, no, you cannot put it in the mobile, because if you lost the mobile, the money will pay you, the money is finished. Do you understand? It means somebody picks your mobile, so that guy will be rich. You understand? That's our losses. I'm not asking the Serers to use that against us. So we're going to open the floor. If you have questions for our fantastic speakers, the Vice President of the Africa Cybersecurity Alliance left the meeting, I think because of time differences. the next question would have been to him. But we'll open the floor. If you have questions, please ask and be specific to the current speakers. And we will direct your question. The floor is yours. Question. For the current speakers, all you know. Huh? Hold on, okay. You have one there.
They've all given a wonderful speech. Concerning about the fintech, I think there is a point that they left out. That is the security part. I don't know what is their plans on that.
Sorry. I don't know what I'm So, who will take that? Platforms?
Yes. So when it comes to finances and people's money, security is the first thing that the institution has to put in place. So for us, not only are we regulated by central bank here in the Gambia, but we are also regulated on the UK side. That's through an FCA license that we have. So I know sometimes when you say, oh, we are regulated by central bank, people just roll their eyes. But when I say FCA in the UK, they're like, oh, okay, that helps. But so that's one thing that we are that we try to make sure that we put in place, because those regulations are very strict and stringent in what they expect from you as a company. But also when it comes to the data that's being received from you, we try to make sure that we only collect essential information and not all the data that we would collect and not really use. So it's only the essential information that's being recorded, and that's being encrypted as well on our platform. So the same source of security that you would have with a banking app is the same technology that we are using for the digital wallet as well. So it's not as easily broken. Plus, even if the app is broken, your money is still secure, because you have to put in something with central bank, and it's for things like this, in case the company thinks that they can get up and run away. No, but we're not here. We're not asking you to click about it and make money. No, we're not asking you to do that. But yeah, I think the points that were raised about making sure that raising awareness about the fintech space or even digital technology and the solutions we're given, I think that is very important, because the misconception is that it's somebody that's not learned that needs awareness raising exercise. But you'd be surprised at the conversations that I've had with really big business owners in this country, and their response to me is, I don't have a problem holding cash. That's not a problem for me, and I'm happy with that. I've seen somebody with a big company here telling me that that's the reason they don't care about things like this. So the raising the awareness is for everybody, regardless of level. It's not just for the unlearned people. But yes, security is very important in what we do. We try to make sure of that.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, because security is everyone's concern. And the Gambia, everyone is also talking about policies. So we are a bit lagging behind when it comes to regulation. And you see made mention of looking at regulation in the UK that they're following. So, and our data protection law is as well as 2009. Though it's good, there's good news that actually I think there's a data protection bill.
Yes,
so I don't know how far we urgently need such. At least to ensure that all these solutions that are being rolled out, then they sort of follow this regulation. So and that's something that's we really lacking in the country. But just to update you that there's a data protection bill that's, I don't know whether it's sent to the parliament or it's sent there already. Yeah. So there's good news, because when it goes through Parliament and actually being passed, it will really help a lot in ensuring that all these solutions that are being rolled out in the country are safe, and then your data is well protected. Thank you. Yes, yes.
Good afternoon. Okay, my question goes to Joseph, who is part of cybersecurity, and then he's a web developer. We know that we have a lot of banking apps, okay, and then a lot of financial transaction happens with these apps. And as a developer, what are the the key elements to these apps concerning security? Because that is number one. Some people, because I don't see most of these things, they have security two-factor authentication. They don't have it. I don't think it's enabled. And I believe that as a web developer, what will be your advice for the fintechs who use some of these tools? And then most of the time, you are the developers who develop this. What are the mechanisms to harness all those security requirements?
Yeah. Okay. In terms of application, you have web application, but most of them are using mobile app. You also, that will also draw us to see mobile application security. So for us, know what we do is it's good to actually have a security net checklist because we're human. Even no matter how good you are and you develop your the application, you might tend to miss a certain point. So we actually have a checklist that we follow to make sure all these security are actually put in place. And also, like I was saying, the how to call again the data protection bill. We also normally we look at the GDPR. GDPR is very vast, and when we look at the GDPR, then there was a lot of important things that we've actually held when we've actually come across, and we say that this really very good, and we ensure that all these things are actually followed. Yeah, so in short, I think it's just because when the security is very vast and it's been very broad, and there are a lot of things that actually need to be put in place to make sure that our application is actually secured. So one is ensuring that you have like a security checklist, and also looking at the policy. Like the GDPR, for me, I think is very broad, and I think and every software development company should actually look at it, because GDPR more or less try to ensure that the user data is well protected, to make sure that a user and if a user have your data with you, the user have like 100% control over the data, like before you actually process the data before you actually process the data, like for instance, if you have user data and you want to process data for anything and outside of what is in the knowledge of the user, you have to ensure that the user is aware of that. And even you have to be able to give the user the right to be able to permanently delete the information. So these are very important things that are actually in the GDPR, and I think most security software developers actually go through and make sure that whatever they develop is actually in line with the GDPR. Yes.
I think you mentioned one thing that is not addressed.
Yeah.
That is the most of these apps.
Yeah.
Within the fintech together don't have multi-factor authentication.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think multi-factor authentication is really very important. But and like I said, when it comes to security, it's a checklist. It's a checklist. So some company will decide to have this, and some will not decide to have this for one single order. Multi-factor is important, yes, but I think in some cases, it might not be that very important. And then, like let's say the app that with most of these fintech, they have an application that you sort of use, and then you sort of go into application, and then you sort of log in. So and most of them you have like a code that you like enter, and then from there then it validates you to log in. That's really good, which is more or less like just entering your email with a password. But then like you said, the multi-factor it adds another layer of security into it. So I think maybe let's say you open your fintech app, and then you enter your passcode. I think it's also good that maybe then they could also send you a code that you could also use, and then it serves as another layer of security. Because like it is said, security is an impediment to the ease of use of solution. So it makes it difficult for users, because if people have to go through all those security protocol to be able to access the information, so some of them might be pissed off, and it also come down to the fact of people saying that these applications are very difficult to use. They're difficult to use, yeah.
The convenience of using that particular tool, but we have to look at the security aspect as well. I believe you can try to bring up that one once you are in your contracts. You know better than me. Yes, that's just a tip,
Banking apps, like for instance, I'll go to the banks. Most of these banking app, you just enter certain code and then you're in. And if you look at it, then let's look at it from a realistic point of view. You can lose your phone. Like the concerns are out there that if someone gets your phone, the person can have access to your money, and then that's actually true. That can actually be true. So for example, let's say someone who has a phone, like most of these people are not very very well literate. Then they might just have like a very simple pattern on their phone, a very simple pattern, and security guys are here. Then that can easily be breached. Easily be breached by someone who is cyber aware. So you're passing them breach that, and then the next thing is the banking app. Like I said, most of these banking app, you just enter certain few security few code. Some are actually 4 digits, some are actually 6 digits. So you enter this digit and then you're in. And then from a security perspective, also this can also be hacked. So having a multi-factor authentication like a code being sent to the phone, I think would really be helpful. Would really be helpful. Yeah.
I think yes, is right.
Okay, I have a question and then I will say a recommendation as well. My question goes to my sister here, with e-wallet. I want to know if, of course, the fintech guy. Yeah, so I want to know if your wallet actually, allows cryptocurrency processes. I mean, uh, she said she just not high. Yeah, so like it's really sad, even though we most of us, yeah, wants to do a lot of transactions using crypto, and then it is coming into it's money, and the entire globe, countries and other nations are obviously like Nigeria, almost 2 years ago have implemented, been planning to implement an e-currency. Now in the Gambia, like last week, I want to make a payment. I want to buy cryptocurrency with my Visa card, but guess what? From um, all the banks, Zenith, Echo, I know tried with Standard Chartered, all of them blocked it. I have something to buy, barely needed to buy, and I don't have enough currency in my account, crypto wallet. So, and then when I see this fintech, I think it's a great place. Opportunity business venture for you guys if you should be able to actually incorporate that you will not believe. I would like there are a lot of businesses that like myself would love to invest. Enjoy your services through that. So, yeah. So like honestly, like you'll be surprised the amount of people that I know that really want to buy cryptocurrency. No, 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 no. Doctor, 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 doctor. Like I sold my cryptocurrency. I sold like I actually like I've been using it for about 5 years plus now. And then I sold mine like last month and I barely needed some money. So normally when I want to buy, I'll transfer money to someone in the US and then he uses a credit card to buy cryptocurrency. And then you can see, the, all those transactions like conversion rate, I'll have to pay extra. The Bitcoin is pegged on a dollar. Yeah. So like the same way dollar is pegged on dollar as well. So you can see, I mean, there is no much difference. You have Binance, you have a lot of currencies out there, and then it's something that I think we are losing so much on as Gambians. Maybe another topic of discussion another day. But then, yeah. So I'm not done.
They're not doing it. I don't want to lie about that. Yes. But this is not the first time we've had this conversation before. So we will look into it, but at this point, we don't offer that. So what's the market size for this? Yeah.
People, you need to show that there's a demand. If you have enough data to show that there's a need for it.
This tells you that the need for research is key. So a demand comes out of research as well. So once you research, so it's also incumbent now that fintech need to spend money. So my young man here is giving you a table. Now you are telling him that you should create a scene that there should be demand. It's impossible because that is, I can say it's about, he's out of how many million, 1 million or something plus Gambians that are 2 million plus Gambians that are requesting for this. But trust me, the advance of cryptocurrency, like the platform like Binance and the rest are all in the system, but it boils down to what? Digital literacy. This is what happened to the fact of the smart AI. Doubling the currency. So the business people here might not also be prone to the system integration to ensure that if you have a Binance account or if you have a cryptocurrency, you can integrate it and do some transaction and get current, something out of it. So it boils down to research and collaboration.
The numbers were 6 months ago. Now it is almost around 20, 25, 30%. Thanks to WISM, they scam many people though, but they have increased the number of investors into because what they did is like they help us increase the numbers. They increase the numbers. Do you understand? Exactly. You understand? Yes.
I think it's important we have another conversation just around cryptocurrency and then digital currency because I mean we can there are a lot of opportunities there, and then I know very well it's going to be challenging because the reason why I deliberately asked the question is because I know well you might be one of the people that can trigger it being started in the country. And then obviously you will have a lot of push and pull with government because government, I work for government too. So, so we are too, very rigid with regards to IT or technology in general. So if you want to tell central bank, okay, we want you to accept cryptocurrency. And then, because I know very well so that banks don't allow folks to buy cryptocurrency because they think it's illegal. Like everybody thinks hackers are criminals generally. So like this is exactly the perspective around it. So, but one have to convince them because we are losing so much. We are being left behind because of our rigidity towards change. And then the other thing that I wanted to put, with regards to telecom, internet service. First of all, frequencies, right? Regulation is 100%, the regulated body's job. It's not neither my job as an end user or somebody who wants to make some little money, $15 per hour or day in an area, or an ISP like Mr. Barr to manage it. Like all of us do it on our own level. But then the problem here is there are, TV, white spaces out there. There are so many opportunities. Like, I mean, we cannot actually exhaust, the channels that we even have. It's not possible. We don't have the people. We don't have the devices, And then the only problem is, Mr. Ba will go to Pira, and Pira will say, we allocate this channel for you, and then another ISP will go and they will say, we allocate this channel for you. So it becomes a pattern. Mr. Ba understand the pattern. He feels like, okay, my channel is full, and then he will overlap on somebody else's channel. That's where the entire problem started. Do you get it? So some of them will even pick an entire, and then it's not literally, I don't want them to bug the ISPs to actually bring this down. And then, somebody I had like 2 years ago, somebody was campaigning that the community, hubs, Wi-Fi should pay Lansing to Pura. Someone was literally campaigning for that. Do you get it? Because of this frequency, issue. But here you need to just regulate and say, but if you're using an ISP's frequency, you will be charged this amount of money, or whatsoever, and then that will stop it. So my final, yeah. You look at the 5 gigahertz space. There are a lot of multiple frequencies channels that you can use, but Pura don't do that. They will not. If you tell them, why not you assign this specific channel to me alone, and tell NetPage or tell Insys or tell DK, for example, that they should not they tell them that they should not select this frequency on any of their devices. But they'll be like, no. And you know where the problem happens? The 5 gigahertz is a free spectrum space. So if Pura is asking us to pay, that's why when they ask us to pay, we don't understand. Do you understand? If it is 6 gigahertz, you can ask us to pay, we will pay. Do you understand? If it is different spectrums, you ask us to pay, we will pay. But as we speak, we are all randomly, sometimes as you said, you go to a sector, you select the entire frequencies, the entire channel. And another provider also does the same thing. So these devices will be countering each other, and it creates issues for us. We have a question, I think, in the group on the virtual the online. Musa, can you increase the volume? Lalo, you have a question. Can you increase the volume for us to hear Lalo? Yes.
Okay. Good evening to all. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
we are hearing you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to have something to say. Okay, first and foremost, I want to thank the Webway, and he made mention of the checklist, which is very important and very essential when it comes to both for developers and then those security assessment. And the famous one there is the Open Web Application Security Project, which I'm very glad to hear him saying that. And then I've never had any developer talking about it so far, that there are checklists to follow in order to implement a secure application. And there's also made mention of OTP and then that multi-factor authentication, which is very important. But if you follow the checklist is those guide you to apply a rate limit, which is very important, because with a multi-factor authentication without a rate limit, there is a problem. Coming down to the Honorable Amadou, made mention of this hotspot business. Do you want to spoil that business nowadays? Okay, that's what I have for now. And then thank you so much for this great session.
Thank you, Lalo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because
I think when you talk about security, the next one you talk about is trust. How do you convince your customers? We talk about wave coming in and then they dominate the country. Everybody is talking about wave. What kind of strategy do they come with it, and how do they conquer the business community? Yes, people are talking about, maybe perhaps Gambians don't trust their own people. But I believe the kind of marketing the other the people coming out of the country, the kind of marketing they bring in, and that of the people in the country, I think is quite different. Because if they are the same, wave will not come and then dominate and meet those who have been in business for sometimes, and they come up and then run away in the system. So what kind of trust you guys build with your customers, and how do you guys convince them to believe in your product or whatever business you guys are doing so that they can be part of the system? That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so with our customers, again, like you said, there are already solutions that exist in the market. The way we try to establish ourselves is what sets us apart from the others. Because if we all were offering the exact identical thing, then there's a reason they're laughing. Then that will be a separate discussion. But for us, our direction is what are we offering that the other entities are not offering, and that's how we get them in. And of course, our testimony is in the fact that you when you actually use it, you can see the difference and you can tell the difference. That it's not just hearsay that we're saying, oh, our solution is better, blah blah blah. We're actually showing how it's better and how you can use it. Just recently, yesterday actually, somebody ran a transaction on our platform and said that they were testing it out. Few minutes after the transaction went successfully, they did another one as well. And this just showed that what we actually shared, that this is what we can do, is what we have done, and that's why they have been back. So you're seeing that even though like right now, our subscriber base is about 6,000, and our publicity, I'm sure most of you can tell, we might not be the best when it comes to being in the public, yes. But the way that it has grown, or we have grown, is from people trusting us and recommending our solution to others, which I feel is the best way for people to actually gain your trust. Because if I'm using something and it works, and I tell my brother, use this and it works, and they actually adopt it, that's a testimony how the solution is. So right now, as the company is growing, because we're still a startup, but as we're growing, we'll of course plan to invest more in our marketing and expand more as well. But I think another way to look at it is, so at some point, I used to work at Insys Global. After whenever I see Joy, not only because I really like her, but the fact that she's in Insys is just the honey onto the cake. Yeah, I really love Insys Global. So at some point when I was there, we had a platform called the document management system. So now if I go to, let's say, a ministry and say I have a document management system and I'm making it available for you, and then somebody comes with Microsoft Office and says, here's Microsoft Office, which one do you likely think you as an individual will go for? Even though the document management system in Insys Global is offering the same and more to what Office is. Which one do you likely think? Just from experience, or as we are, which one do you think? See, it's not even a no-brainer. You've not even tried the Insys Global platform, but you're already saying Office. So the Microsoft Office solution also started from somewhere, and they got to this point. So in this case, I'd say we would be the Insys Global document management system. But I just want you to see that sometimes it's not that we don't want the entire Gambia to use the platform, but in the mind of the average Gambian, we are the new ones coming into the market. Wave has been in Senegal. Almost every Gambian has a family in Senegal. So you have seen Wave, you have used Wave, you have heard Wave. So it's different than you come into the Gambia and I'm starting from here. So it's that same mentality, unfortunately, that we're trying to work against, to just prove ourselves. So the way we build that trust is really to show how we are different from those that exist in the market.
Okay, so thanks so much on behalf of West Africa ICT Action Network. We'd like to extend our heartfelt, appreciation to the entire team here, from everybody who made it possible. Each panel member, we are so grateful for your presence. You took time off your busy schedule, and going forward, we at West Africa ICT Action Network, want to thank the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance for the partnership. We also believe that this is not for a one day. This is an annual event. We hope to cement this MOU, that will have more issues that concern Gambia. And this will be a platform for reference as far as discussion, that debates in other issues that affect change in Gambia will be discussed in the future. So thank you once again, Mr. President, and each and everyone. I may not know your name in person, but I would like to use this time and say, I think Madam here, we met before, Madam Keita, and Dr. Nice meeting you, and sister from Table. Interesting. Yes, okay. And then my brother from just know the organization, the company. Yeah, so we would like to say thank you to each company and each individual here. Thank you so much for making it a time to come here. We had the same number, even in Liberia, we had the same number of persons coming up, and it was also so innovative discussion. So we head next to Nigeria in September, where the Africa Internet Governance will be happening there. We'll have the Nigeria Digital and Financial Inclusion Roundtable in Kanu. Unfortunately, the event will be in the IGF will be in Abuja, but I will be in Kanu for this with another partner there, and we hope to bring the narrative together so that we can have it's synonymous in each country, but we have aligning similarity in some of our issues. Yes, so thank you so much once again, and then thanks for the time.
I think I'll make it really short. Yeah, so I think that to be able to have digitally inclusive financial services, the most important thing we need to look for to look at is digital inclusion. So making sure that the products that you're bringing out to the market are that the people that you're targeting it to are able to use the product. So finding innovative ways to help people that are not literate or that cannot read or write to use your product, and also teaching digital skills to these people, because if people don't have these digital skills, there's no way that this innovation would work. There's no way that the financial services would be able to work properly. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. So just to say that it's good that we're having these conversations, because a lot of the times I'm seeing a lot of faces that I see online, but we never really get to interact. So it's actually good to have these forums to interact. It would have been nice to have the regulators here, but we will send them a note, send them what our recommendations are, so that they conversation, so that we're not just talking. But just to say that a lot of what we do has to be user-centric. It has to be solving a problem that we have, but also our solutions, we need to use, like he said, do a lot of research. Let's make the decisions that we're making be driven by the data that we collect from some of these research. So it's really important. And let's make sure that we're actually solving the problem that we need to solve in the Gambia. Thank you.
Yes. Just I want to repeat what they've already said. Yes. But yeah, I think for us in this space as well, another thing that we would want to encourage just within ourselves, whether it's tech or even government institution, is just to embrace the change and to embrace collaborating. That's one thing that would really push us far. And regardless of which sector you are in, I think it's vital that we all aim to work together. Whether it's in the fintech space or edtech space, like ISPs, we literally all need each other in this space, and it's only when we work together that we'll be able to grow. So I think that's something as well we should be encouraging in conversations such as these. Companies such as TableSoft is really open to working with other companies. I mean, one of our partnerships is with Afrijula, and we've been very open to that. So we are hoping to build similar relationship with others, and I think it's the same methodology that other institutions should apply as well. I think we've spent years working in a silo, and it's time we just come together and collaborate.
Yeah, for me, I just want to elaborate more on the point of collaboration. I think the name of a good example where Afrijula is collaborating with the table, which is really very good. And also, there's this Jokalante that we developed for ITC, UN ITC, and Ministry of Trade, wherein farmers can actually sell their vegetables to buyers like as in hotels. So I think this is also a very good platform that we could also find a way of like, because they have they haven't really it's a new platform, and they haven't really thought of the payment mechanism for the farmers. How is the farmer going to pay the buyer? Then that's not established. So I think you're very active now. So I think also something that can be done with the Jokalante app. But I think we need to have more collaboration, and in that way, more people to different space. Thank you.
That's important, especially in the Jokalante app. I think Table Pay, Afrijula, they can do a lot. So let's have Zaira. Zaira, any closing statement from your end?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that it's really good to talk about collaboration between, the tech businesses, government, things like that. What I would also encourage is that, the normal person, the customer, the user, normal people have their sort of voice represented in an independent way as well, so that these discussions and these bodies don't kind of feed into, trying to that their interests are served equally, basically. So I would say that. And I would also say that we should be open-minded about how to welcome the innovation that comes with technology and utilize that to give more people accessibility to digital tools. Those are my marks.
Thank you, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to put our hands together for our beautiful and fantastic speakers. Fantastic job. Thank you very much, as Peter rightly mentioned, on behalf of the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance and also the West Africa ICT Network, and our regional focal persons from West Coast, and also our focal persons representatives from KM and all the other regions. We say a very, very big thank you for your participation. We're really grateful. And as Dr. rightly mentioned, the conversation will not stop here. We have to take the conversation to another level. Interestingly, there are so many institutions in this country, especially government institutions, that are afraid. If you send them a letter next time, do not put panel speaker. They will not come. Because I learned these things at the IGF. Yeah, IGF. I do all the communication at IGF in terms of letters. So I noticed for the past 7 years, take it from me, if we send letters to institutions and said you are invited as a panel speaker, nobody comes. Central Bank, we wrote to them. They should have been here. In fact, they were so friendly. We were talking over phone. We were exchanging emails. They saw that there's the guy from their currency and I don't know, digital something will come and represent them. Gam switch. In fact, today we spoke. The guy was like, "I don't know the man. No, I'm not getting anyone with a class." Essentially, maybe. So yeah, so maybe also they feel that okay, these are people that will go and attack us. And but for me, it doesn't matter how people attack you. If people look at institutions and take it to be so personal in the Gambia, and we should avoid that. Yeah, we should really avoid that. We should avoid taking institutions to be personal. If Mr. Ba attack, Central Bank of the Gambia, he's not attacking Buasedi. Do you understand? He's not attacking Peter Prawn. He's attacking the institution. And when the institution is invited to come and speak and clarify, and some of them don't understand, platforms like this are very, very important because look, there are so many brilliant people here who are heading units and institutions that are influencers online. They can go home with something that, like some of the things that Dr. Kumbel, Joseph, and all of you said here. Certain things are there for us. Those are things that we hear from outside. We have no idea. But today you have cleared our doubts. So I think forums like this, people need to improve. Government is always a problem, problem for them to participate in events like this. But however, we are saying a very big thank you to our panel speakers for taking their time to come and participate in this very, very important session. So I will invite all of us to just go outside here at the veranda to take a quick group photo, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, but you need this. Let's take a group picture.
Should I say bye now then? Bye.
Hi. I'm
Hello.
back.
How are you doing?
SG. I do tell the but I'm not even seeing the Can you call this guy? Call this guy. Can you call this guy? The one we used to give the key. It only your sister daughter for Mole. What's that? So move again now. Ale, membi jale. Ayo ni nggak full. Okay, boy. Less noise. Less noise. The interview. Hi, Zara.
Yeah. Hi. I just thought I kind of left when you guys left, but then I just thought,
Wait,
let me
I'm
just
not
say,
hearing it.
you can't hear me?
Okay.
So I think this will be really great and we really learn a lot from one another. And I think some of the pieces that from
No. Can you hear me?
And then for the future I think there are certain sectors that are being missing. Most of the sectors that the government and in particular sector so I think you're doing and policy makers are going to listen even feel being regulator. So I think it's very good that that we make sure that these people are getting. I know it can be sometimes very difficult to get these people on board, but I think the committee should actually work through that in the best way possible to ensure that these people can be left together. Thank you. Okay. Well, again, election is next month. Yeah. It's October. It always stands. Yeah. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. Guys, do we have Mr.
Boy, Joe.
Yeah.
Boy, Jerejef, thank you very much, boy. Honestly, this is really appreciated, boy. Like.
Yeah, that's how I'm saying. Hope it's not just cutting things. No, not going to be.
Yes, I remember you. At Zara's place, okay, yeah. Yes. Boy, mo yin picture dota boy mari nya bele ma do. Mama jumala yin picture da. Boy, Zara have this picture. Mala yin picture so do.
Yeah, I had my insider.
No,
I
no,
had
Zara
my
la yin
insider
dog
in there.
ala status. No. Yeah,
Hi, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's weird. You can hear me, but I cannot hear you. So, can you say something? Let me see if I can hear you.
Hello?
Ah,
Hello, hello.
just a minute. Let me see.